Hey, and welcome to the 3 Levels Deep podcast. I'm your host this week, Santo, and we're joined by Matt.
Hello.
And, it's been a long road for us here at the podcast. We've had some ups, we've had some downs. We've had some people show up, we've had some people take a break. But today, we would like to formally introduce the return of Alex.
Hello. I'm back.
We are now 3 again.
3 again. It's not just 2 levels deep.
I mean, 2 levels deep, what is that?
That's not enough, is what it is.
No, we need to go deeper.
We need to go deeper. That's right. You might even say we have to control the depth of our discussion.
Yes. Nice segue, because me and you played some Control.
We did. I beat the main story.
I'm about 6 hours in. I'm liking it quite a bit so far. It's been a really good time.
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't played like kind of a story-driven single-player game that's modern in so long.
They mostly don't exist anymore.
I know. It was funny because it was almost a throwback in that sense. I was like, man, when was the last... I was trying to remember what the last game I played that actually was a character-driven, third-person shooter, I guess, that was like a relatively recent release night. I still can't remember. Half-Life 2 Episode 2, maybe?
Jeez.
I'm sure there's something newer than that, but I just couldn't... it's not off the top of my head. But, yeah, I liked it a lot. It's a really... I feel like the game has a very strong, just like, kind of art direction, aesthetic, and mood.
Yeah,
like, the
totally.
game is incredibly moody, like, in a good way.
Yeah, like a lot of games, I feel like when they do these kind of like cold open, don't present a lot of information up front, like some of them just don't feel great. This one, I think, drip feeds the information to you at a really good pace and in a really like good way, where every so often the main character will just like say to themselves like a bit of key information that you didn't know up until that point, and you find out as you go.
Yeah. Oh man, that actually reminds me of one small complaint that I mostly it's just me. I sometimes found it hard to tell the difference between the main character, whose name is Jessie, so we can that's not a spoiler at all.
No.
So Jessie talks to herself as like narration, and it's just her kind of thinking things. Mm-hmm. But then she also talks to other characters. And because a lot of the dialogue is just in the gameplay, you don't necessarily see her mouth moving. And there were times when I got confused where I was like, is she saying this to other characters or is this just narration? And I don't know, maybe that might have been just me. Partially.
I haven't had a problem with that yet. Her tone, does change when she's doing her internal monologue.
Very
kind of
slightly.
So
yeah.
At least in the sit down talking cutscenes, you get a close up of her eyes as she's doing the narration.
Yeah.
So it's very clear in that respect.
Yeah, but when you have a mixture of narration and dialogue as you're controlling the character walking around, I definitely got confused a couple times. Very minor point.
Yeah.
But.
Well, I mean, at the beginning of the game, it's very confusing as to who's she's talking to a lot of the time, even in those internal monologues.
Yeah.
Because, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but because it, you figure this out very, very quickly, but there's some kind of weird other thing going on with her where she's talking to somebody else in her mind.
Yeah.
And you'll find out what that is as you play the game.
But yeah, very strong cold open, and it does the it does the drip feeding of information really well. But I feel like a lot of the time when you have this situation where, the character's in the weird, unknown, unfamiliar situation, environment, whatever, and that character, you are, like, things get explained to the character to explain them to the audience. Sometimes that's done very badly, but it was done very well here. Like, it never felt like the exposition was unneeded. Mm-hmm. And, like, the exposition always made sense in the context of what was happening in the story. And a lot of the exposition is optional. So if you want to just play the game, you don't have to listen to every single piece of information.
No.
A lot of the information about the world is presented in optional cutscenes or optional reading materials.
Yeah, I want to talk a bit about the optional reading materials because I haven't, like, actually read much of them yet, but I kind of don't like that as much. Specifically, like, picking up, like, readable things. Like, there's different things in the world that you'll, like, turn on a radio and hear audio of stuff, or you'll go into an area and then, like, a video will just start playing on a monitor. I like that bit, but having to stop and read something, I think it breaks up the flow a little bit. And I'm going to talk about another game a little bit later that does the exact same thing. And it's like, I understand that you want to build this world, but some of these games are putting so much text in their games that it's, I don't know. The writing really needs to be really good for me to
I find
interact with that at that level.
I find if any game I'm playing, if there's a text log, if I don't read it the moment I pick it up, I don't go back to it.
Oh, so in Control, the unread ones they're highlighted with flashing red triangles.
Yep.
Okay, that might get me to go back to it, because I'm obsessed over just, like, clearing out any, like, notification in my menu saying, oh, there's new shit over here. I gotta clear that stuff out.
Actually, that's one thing I didn't always like, is that the menu has notifications for absolutely everything, even just picking up new materials, which you use for crafting. And we'll get to that later.
Well, I mean, I don't know. At some point, you just have to be like, okay, whatever. Like the materials section of the menu, I don't care about that part.
The materials section has a separate tab, so it's like, whatever. But it's still just this flashing, annoying thing when you're in the menu.
Whatever.
I don't know. But yeah, so also, I was just going to say, so with the reading materials, like, for those who aren't aware, you know, the game, I don't want to say too much about the story because, like, just that kind of, it's full of spoilers, but the sort of vibe is, if the SCP Foundation was, like, basically just an arm of the US government, that's the sort of organization.
And for those who don't know, what is the SCP Foundation?
And so if you don't know what the SCP Foundation is, it's basically this sort of organic... it's this. Now it's a website. You can just search it up. But it started as a series of kind of like creepypasta posts, and so it would be like weird objects that are found, that are managed by this shadowy organization that's trying to protect, that's trying to, like, contain them. And SCP literally stands for Secure Containment Procedure. Because the gimmick is that for each of these weird supernatural entities, the SCP-00, like, whatever, 42069, which I'm sure that's a real one, because it is a bit of a, just, you know, it's a collaborative community kind of.
The question is that one of the harmless SCPs?
It probably is, or maybe it's not. I don't know. But, like, one of the most classic SCPs is this, like, it's a weird statue mannequin thing,
almost baby-esque in nature, but it's like 7 feet tall.
Yeah, but when you look at it, it just stays, and it's like made of paper mache. When you look at it, it stays still and doesn't do anything. It's just like a fixed statue. But if you look away and then you look back, it's closer to you.
Or blink.
Or if you blink. Yeah, every time you blink, it gets closer to you. And so anytime you're not looking at it, it'll get closer to you. But if it reaches you, it just like rips you to shreds. And this was a very classic kind of post. And then the SCP is this it's this fake like government document about how to contain this supernatural papier-mâché statue that's 7 feet tall and kills people.
Yeah, just detailing all the information they have on it, how to contain it.
Yeah.
Just
not all the information, because there's a bunch of stuff.
There's some stuff that's redacted.
Yeah, it's redacted, and that's kind of the whole. And that's kind of the whole like mystique of like the SCP stuff. It's this community collaborative project of creating all these sort of like creepy horror stories,
and there's like thousands of them
formatted
to read up on.
as redacted government containment procedures. So that's sort of the thing. But I think actually they have. It's been going for a while, and they actually have a fairly elaborate. They actually have copyright on it. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but you're not allowed to just like use the SCP stuff as is.
That's funny, because like that whole paper doll that gets closer when you're not looking at the thing. Like, I'm pretty sure there have been multiple games that have used that as a concept.
So
like
the
horror
concept, you can use the concept, and in fact, Control has a.
You can't copyright ideas, right?
Yeah,
so.
Control has an entity that is a thing that you have to look at it, and if you look away, it tears you to shreds.
Oh, okay.
But
I haven't gone that far yet.
It's different. It's not a statue, and so they kind of like. There's a lot of things, especially in the readables that you pick up, where it's basically an SCP article in everything but name, because the name SCP is copyrighted by this community project, and you're not allowed to use it without like, I have no idea. I think they have a non-profit foundation now, kind of like Wikipedia. Like, the whole project has gotten quite elaborate at this point. But Control is basically if you were to just have it's an organization like that, but they didn't want to have to deal with any of the bullshit of that community project. And
this has actually made me more interested in checking out Control now.
Yeah, like that's
what it is.
Yeah, that's the whole concept. Is that
because I barely knew anything about Control.
Like, yeah, the whole concept is that basically your character is thrust into this world that is essentially the SCP organization, except it's called the Federal Bureau of Control.
Yeah.
As in controlling supernatural.
And there's things around that are objects of power that, do weird things but are normal everyday objects and stuff like that.
So anyway, yeah. But going back to this, so the whole thing about these readable collectibles is that a lot of them are like, they're really trying to be like those classic SCP like creepypasta posts, but they're just, I don't want to say they're poorly written, but I don't think they're as well written as a lot of the like really good SCP stuff. Part of that is because, there's thousands of these SCPs that have been created over the years, and they've gotten edited over time by a large group of people to be like really kind of fine-tuned to be like having the right vibe. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, like some of them are just like really, really well written. And the stuff in the Control has a much smaller writing team, effectively.
Yeah.
Because it's just one game. And so although they're not badly written, they're not as interesting or intriguing to read.
Yeah.
I read pretty much all of it because, I don't know, the flashing light got me.
Yeah. I mean, I will read them at some point, but I was more just like, I just kind of wanted to keep playing and see like the main story
it does
main
break
gameplay and stuff.
It does break the
first.
flow.
Yeah.
It does break the flow a little bit. I like the videos a lot.
The videos are really, really good,
and the videos are incredibly well made.
Yeah, so
they're really funny.
One thing that we should mention, if you don't know, is that this Control is made by Remedy. They made Quantum Break. They made the Alan Wake games. The first and maybe the second Max Payne game. I forget when.
They made the first two.
Yes. The first two, okay. Like they like putting some live action into their games for sure, and so they do that in like some really great ways here, I think.
Yeah, actually, it was really funny. I feel like this is a very minor spoiler, but there's no new technology in the Federal Bureau of Control. There's a document that hand waves this away by saying that, oh, new technology doesn't work inside because of paranormal, supernatural reasons or something like that.
There's a post on one of like the clipboards on the wall that says like you need clearance level 5 to even use the internet.
Oh yeah, well, or they say, well, and also a lot of the stuff just breaks.
Yeah,
like you try to take modern tech into the place, it just breaks. And a part of me feels like it's a silly thing, but 100%, like they just wanted the aesthetic of sort of that, like, you know, 60s-esque, like bureaucratic infrastructure. And one of the things that I feel like they did it for is like they have this incredible video reel projector light cone effect. So like when you have these videos, the animation obviously like plays a video on the projector that's on a screen, but you get this light cone as if the projector is hitting dust in the air, and you can actually see like the video contents are actually like color, like the color of the video is actually coloring the dust in the air as an animation. And I'm like, that animation is so cool. Somebody at the studio made that animation first, and then they're like, okay, we need a 60s film projector aesthetic. How do we make that game? The whole game's made just to get that one video effect. Maybe not, but
yeah, there's a lot of great little touches that they've done here. For example, like early on, like there's a walking into this place, I see a wet floor sign. I walk into it, I accidentally knock it over. I'm like, oh, there's physics in this game. There's a puddle, and you walk on the puddle, and your footsteps sound like they're on wet carpet. I'm like, oh, game of the year right here.
And do you start leaving wet footprints as you leave the puddle too?
I mean, no, but
yeah, the game looks visually very surprisingly good. I wasn't expecting it to look as good as it does, especially because, you know, I'm on a laptop. I'm on a gaming laptop with a sort of like 1660, which is it's like a mid-range card at best. And the game still looks amazing. And I think a lot of that really just comes down to the decisions that they made for what they were going for, where the whole place is like very geometric and very, I would say it's like, the word brutalism gets tossed around too much, I think, to sometimes just mean, oh, ugly concrete. But
yeah, like
in its like really like original architectural form, brutalism is like, it's like a statement piece where the architects were sort of intentionally making sort of a bit of a dehumanizing, like structural art that is intentionally dehumanizing.
Yeah. I mean, remember, this is a government building.
Yeah.
Government office building. Like, you're fighting around like a bunch of cubicles and like just like, you know, big concrete like pillars and shit.
Yeah. But the really sort of pinnacle jewels of brutalism are actually kind of cool in a way, and Control like absolutely is funneling that like most interesting strain of brutalist architecture into all the environments. And it's interesting because, you know, sometimes the environments are kind of shifting and moving and you know, there's like different configurations of rooms in a sense. And the aesthetic just is perfect for it. But it's also easy to render because everything's full of squares and rectangles.
Yeah.
Maybe a triangle occasionally. Like,
I remember this game was one of the first like showcases of like ray tracing and stuff like that. It's like, well, I mean, when you don't have a bunch of curved surfaces, ray tracing is a little easier.
Yeah, ray tracing's easy without curved surfaces, and there's barely any areas with curves. There's a couple areas that are a bit more
open. Let's not go too much because some of the areas that you go into are just like pretty striking for like what you've seen up until that point.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's crazy that they put this environment here.
Yeah. Really, really interesting environments. And I don't think I've ever played a game where I'm like, oh man, this office architecture is incredible. but Control does it. Like, really, really cool. Just like I said, extremely strong art direction, like, in the game as a whole, I would say.
It's a very red game. Maybe the most red game I've played.
It also is extremely red, yes.
I earlier when you were talking about like just the mood of the game, I think this game strikes a really good balance between like creepiness and tension, but it never, at least up until this point, it's never gotten to the point of like jump scares or anything like that. It doesn't go into that kind of territory, which I'm very, very happy about.
No, I would say that there is exactly one enemy type that is kind of a jump scare sometimes, but it only gets you once.
Yeah.
And if it gets you after that, it's because you weren't paying attention to where it was.
Yeah.
I want to just backpedal a little bit for a second. So that's the most red game. I'd like to counter that argument with anything on the Virtual Boy.
Oh,
shit. All right. You did get us there.
you got us. It's true.
Well, I'm going to argue that this game is more red because you can look at it for longer.
Ooh. You get more red.
Yeah, like with the Virtual Boy, there's going to be downtime on the amount of red that you can take in because your eyes will just... bad things will happen to your eyes if you're looking at that thing for too long. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the like actual gameplay of this because I think the combat is phenomenal.
Actually, just one more thing I want to say about these, just related to the aesthetic. This game has the most like this game has made me just like noticeably think this is incredible shot framing more than any other game I've played. Like, when you're watching like a really well shot movie and you're like, oh man, these camera angles are just like really, really supporting the mood of what's going on right now. The game does that. Especially early on, there's a lot of like really extreme camera angles, but like they just support like building tension or mood, or just like kind of helping to showcase like how well put together the environments are. And I don't think a lot of games really do that. Even games that are maybe more story and narrative focused, there's not as much of a... Like, a lot of times, cutscenes are kind of boring to watch. A lot of games... And there are some boring cutscenes in this game, I'm not going to lie. There are talking head cutscenes. Most of those ones are optional. But a lot of the cutscenes that are unskippable part of the story are just... They're really well framed and well put together. Like
you can skip the cutscenes.
You can't skip the regular cutscenes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't bother because they were really, they were really good cutscenes. And, like, maybe the writing and the dialogue isn't always great, but...
Disagree.
It's
above average.
Okay, for a game, it's good, but if it was a movie, sometimes it'd be like, it's above average for a game, for sure. Anyway, but it's the shot framing. I'm telling you, it's so good, so good. Anyway,
all right.
Yeah, we can move on to the actual gameplay now.
No, well, now it's my turn to be like, oh wait. There's one other thing. So I encountered a part of the game where I was walking, and then I walk into this room and I see this just like streak of like darkness on my screen. I'm just like, oh, that's weird, what's going on there? And then as I'm moving around, it's getting bigger and bigger until it completely envelops the screen. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And then about like 5 seconds pass and I'm still in control. Of the game. I was just like, wait a second. This is a bug, isn't it? It was a bug.
Oh no.
But the way it happened, I wish I got a recording of it, because maybe it'll happen again. I'll get a recording. It actually looked really cool and looked like it was supposed to happen, because like that's just how the mood was. And like tension was getting me at the time, where just like, just like creeping blackness all over my screen just like felt like that was actually natural.
Yeah, that is definitely something that this game would pull.
Yeah.
Is it a bug or a not SCP?
I had to set my graphics settings Like I tried to just like quit the title and reload checkpoint, and it was still there. So I had to set my graphics settings to low and then back to high to fix it. And
Must have been some sort of weird texture loading issue, maybe.
I don't know. I'm playing this on DirectX 12, and I did have to like download some sort of weird like third like GitHub repository thing that gives you more NVIDIA settings in the NVIDIA control panel to change the settings so that my cutscenes weren't jittery.
Wow. Okay.
This game, it's got some bugs still, but
I think the
whatever.
DirectX 12 stuff especially was like, I think this was one of the first games that like really tried to push it with some of the...
That would make sense.
Like the ray tracing tech in particular. My graphics card doesn't really do that very well, so I just use DirectX 11. I can run it on DirectX 12, but I just got better. The performance actually, honestly, was about the same. It seemed marginally better on DX 11 for me.
Okay, gameplay now.
Yeah, gameplay. Finally to the gameplay.
So the structure of this game is like, I really don't want to say Metroidvania. I really don't. But you gain powers as you explore the environment, and that unlocks new areas for you to explore. It's not an open... I wouldn't call it an open world
It's not
game.
an open world. No.
But...
It is definitely more of a Metroid... Because it's not an open world. It's not... The story's linear, but the environment that you explore...
It isn't. It's not like you're in level 1, level 2, level 3.
Yeah, it's not entirely linear, but it's not entirely like so like there is backtracking.
Yeah, and
you do visit areas that you like visited before, but now you have new powers, so you can like do different stuff. So it is kind of like a
and there's areas that are like there's one area that I could go to now that seems fairly large for like a side quest kind of thing. So it's like there's some non-linearity to it.
Yeah, well, and actually there's a few areas that you only visit for some side quests.
Yeah.
But that you could just go to on your own randomly as you're progressing through the environment.
But so yeah, you're getting these powers, and it's like, you know, some paranormal type stuff, and the powers feel really, really good. This is maybe some of the best third-person shooting I've ever had, and this game might also have the best hipfire apart from like the Gears of War shotgun, because like it feels like kind of loose, but you have unlimited ammo. Like your ammo goes on a cooldown instead of like you being limited, and you also like get a evade skill fairly early on. So like I wasn't actually going down like steadying my aim all that much. I was just hip firing in a lot of encounters, just like moving around. Well, it felt really, really fluid.
You have different kind of types of weapons as well, and some of them are better at hip firing than others. So
I mean, I don't know. I'm hip firing with like the charge up shotgun. I'm firing with everything.
Oh yeah. I mean.
It works really well.
Are there cover mechanics in the game? No. Okay.
There's no... Okay, yeah.
No explicit, like, stick-to-wall thing.
Okay.
But at some point, you do need to go behind a pillar.
Yeah.
One of these many concrete pillars of this office building.
Yeah, there's no explicit cover mechanics, but cover is important.
Okay.
You just have to do it yourself. Which, honestly, I'm fine with. I feel like cover mechanics are sometimes a bit... I don't always like them.
Yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, they can be too sticky at some point, where, like... There's been some encounters in Gears of War where it's just like, no, I don't actually want to be on the wall. I want to run this way. But it's just like, oh, stuck to cover.
And sometimes they can be not sticky enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like cover is important, but at least the way I was playing it, mobility more so.
Okay.
And you get multiple kinds of movement abilities that like really lean into that style of gameplay. So
okay.
I don't know how much we want to talk about the specific abilities, if that's a spoiler.
I mean, the only other one that I want to talk about is that you can chuck shit at people.
Yeah.
It's like the first ability you get is to just chuck stuff in the environment around.
And it's really powerful.
Yeah.
It's actually, I would say I killed more enemies by throwing things at them than I did by shooting them.
Yeah. And you can always throw stuff, even if there's not like a specific, like, oh, there's a specific throwable thing. You'll just pick up like just some random piece of concrete from like the ground that and shit. So
and actually,
you always have it available, which is nice.
Well, and that was one of the things, like you were kind of mentioning on this, but like the physics engine, almost everything except the walls, floor, and ceiling is actually a physics object that you can pick up.
Even like a couple things, like there's like some I was in an area where there's like a couple flower beds or whatever, and when I evaded into like the ledge of the flower bed, it like crumbled.
Oh,
so
yeah.
there's a little bit of destructibility.
Even the wall, even the permanent walls and floors are actually, they're sort of cosmetically destructible. So they look like they're being destroyed progressively, but I don't know that it actually affects their sort of.
It affects your
hitbox.
Collision on them a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
But again, the game's so fluid that like you're not really getting tripped up on the geometry at all, which is really nice.
Yeah, it was realistic enough that it was like, it felt really good. It felt like I was kind of destroying things by accident because my abilities are so powerful that I'm just kind of wrecking the place.
Yeah.
Which is really fun.
I destroyed somebody's like workspace really badly because I was just like trying to move fast and I just like evaded and just like a couple like drawing boards just like flew off to the side. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, and then because it's 60s era tech, there's papers everywhere, and every time you
there's so much paper.
Every time you dash through a table, there's just like a million papers that fly up in the air and float down really, really nicely with like nice paper physics.
Yeah.
Like the world just feels like
it's realized.
Yeah, it's fully realized. Like and a lot of those little touches just like they really support kind of the aesthetic of the world really well, which is a lot of fun.
I gotta say, from everything I'm hearing, I feel like I'm going to enjoy this game more than I did Quantum Break.
Yes. I would be surprised if you didn't. There's a reason why everybody loved this game when it came out and won a ton of Game of the Year awards. It's that good.
It's actually interesting because I kind of felt in a weird way that the gunplay almost felt simplistic, but it wasn't really. I don't think it's so much that it was simplistic so much as it was so well executed that I didn't have to think about it. I just did it. Which is kind of like it's so smooth and fluid that you're just like, everything just works. Everything just, like, your character just does what you want. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't get tripped up. You don't get, and, with the ammo, you're not thinking about conserving ammo. The health is not rechargeable, which I think is kind of interesting because it's almost backwards to what a lot of other shooters are doing nowadays, where ammo is limited, but health recharges. No, here ammo recharges, health is limited.
Yeah.
You only get health by killing enemies, and then they drop health pickups. Which still means that, like, if you're in beast mode and you're just, killing a lot of enemies, that your health will stay high.
Yeah. And there's a decent amount of encounters where there are some like mook enemies that you can kill. Like the mook enemies in this game are pretty inaccurate with their shots.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I definitely feel like there's some encounters later in the game where, at least the way I was playing it, it was essentially like I just had to keep the pressure on to keep going because I needed to kill the enemies to get the health.
Yeah.
To actually just survive, which is, I think, a really fun. It's just a really fun way of setting up the encounters, because the encounters just feel like you end up just getting on like kind of a roll and a streak where, like, you just feel like you're just incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And actually being slow and methodical is what will get you killed.
Yeah, that's what happened. Like, the first, like, big boss of the game, I was just, like, trying to take cover and, like, take my shots when I could. And I just kept, like, fucking up a little bit and getting hit. And I died, like, multiple times. I've died a lot in this game, to be fair, because I'm playing it very sloppily, but it's like the way I'm playing it, I feel is like really fun, so I don't really care all that much. But then I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna like just keep firing at this guy, just keep shooting him, and that was the time I beat him.
Yeah. Well, and you do stun enemies a little bit depending on what weapon you're using and how powerful the enemy is. And just that combined with the way the health reload, the health pickups work, and like the reload mechanic, or not reload mechanics, but the ammo regeneration mechanic works. It just really, it almost makes it. It's more of a rhythm, like you get into a rhythm.
Yeah, that's how I would put it, because like, you know, you got your gun ammo that like, you know, recharges over time, and you also, your powers are limited by a separate meter. So I was just like, you know, shoot, use powers, shoot, use powers, like keep switching between them.
Yeah,
and it felt like, you know, talk about putting you in a flow state. That's right there, flow state. Right.
And then like we're saying, like it doesn't have explicit cover mechanics. Cover can be important, but mobility is just as important. And part of that is because it's like, yeah, it'd be like, you know, dump your clips, use some psychic powers, and then usually what I'd do is I'd use some of my sort of psychic meter to use combat powers, but then with the last bit of my meter, I'd use some mobility powers to kind of reposition myself to set up to then, you know, go back to shooting. Mm-hmm. Especially because like there is also some melee powers, and there is actually a melee move, although I mostly didn't use it. If I was using my close combat like psychic force push kick kind of thing, usually it meant something had gone horribly wrong. But yeah, I really like the way the combat kind of has that rhythm to it. And it's like, yeah, you know, just you get in that rhythm, you keep the pressure on, and you can kind of get through most encounters that way, which is a very fun way of like setting up kind of the combat mechanics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, very closely related to the combat mechanics is we talked a little bit about, you know, the psychic powers, and there's a skill tree up for upgrading your psychic powers, and you upgrade you basically get ability points by completing missions to upgrade your psychic powers, and that system is fine. That system works well. But the guns also have upgrades, and that system, honestly, I think is a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I'm not entirely so like you unlock like different weapons as you play, and then you can you unlock upgrades as you play, but I have no clue what triggers the ability to get some of these upgrades and gun unlocks, because like I've only been able to upgrade one of my guns so far. The rest, like the option just isn't there.
Yeah,
I'm just, like, not quite sure what's going on here.
Yeah, I was a little unclear on how I unlocked the ability to upgrade them, but it's okay. So first of all, just from the strict perspective of how do I do it, it's a bit awkward because there's multiple screens in multiple locations that you have to use. So let's say you have your basic pistol sidearm that you start with. Now, obviously, that's going to be the first gun that you can upgrade because you unlock the upgrades for guns in the same order. And when I say upgrades, I mean that is distinct from the mods. So we'll call them upgrades and mods. And when you upgrade it, there's 3 levels of upgrades. So when you unlock a weapon type for the first time, it starts at level 1 and can take 1 mod. And then you upgrade it to level 2, it gets 2 mods. You upgrade it to level 3, it gets 3 mods. And then also when you upgrade the levels, it gives it a little bit of extra damage or fire rate or whatever. Just upgrades the base stats.
Yeah.
So to upgrade a gun, I think you can only do that by going into Central Executive. Or you have to do it at a save point.
Yeah.
I think it's the clothing that's only at Central Executive.
Yes.
So, but you have to go to a save point, and then you have to go to one of these board menus, and don't worry, the board's just a sort of entity. Don't worry about it. But there's a menu that you can buy upgrades from them. And you have to go to a save point and buy the upgrade for your gun, but I'm not sure how they unlock. I just checked in there every once in a while, and there'd be a new one I could potentially buy. But the weird thing is that to buy the weapon upgrades, you know, there's a whole bunch of currency, and then there's a whole bunch of materials. First of all, way too many materials. there's like at least a dozen materials in the game. And as far as I can tell, they're meaningless other than some materials you only get in later areas of the game. And they're all based, like, they don't, there's no meaningful reason for there to be so many. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's like like you said, like the only reason for those materials to be there is so that you can't, unlock certain guns and certain like upgrades
Too early.
But they already lock that behind some nebulous
you don't
distribution process anyways.
You don't even see the ability to buy these upgrades until some hidden condition is triggered anyway. So I would rather, I think it would have been better if they had just, I actually feel like they almost shouldn't have even had that, and they should have just given you those upgrades somehow. They could have weaved it into the story somehow, or they could have just been like,
they could have just given you like one, like, here's, an upgrade box that you got, a weapon upgrade box that you got when you completed X story mission, and you get one every story mission or whatever.
Yeah.
That would have been a much cleaner way of doing it.
That would have been much cleaner because it would be less intrusive, or it would have been less obtuse, and also it's already sort of like vaguely disconnected from the story anyway, so who even cares? But yeah, so that's the weapon upgrades, but then there's also the weapon mods, and the weapon mods, you just find them in the world and then you can attach them. There are so many weapon mods. There's probably like 24 different kinds of weapon mods. Some of them are specific to different guns. And then also every weapon mod has its own level, which is distinct from your gun's level. And there's like 6 or 7 levels.
Yeah, so it's got a little bit of loop to it.
But there's so many of them, and they're really marginal. They're really marginal upgrades.
They're not really marginal. I completely disagree with you there.
Well,
like the base level damage one, like at its lowest rarity, it can be like 15 to 20% extra damage. That's not marginal.
Okay.
That's the lowest rarity. It climbs up from there.
Yeah, the late game ones do make a bit of a difference, but my main problem with it is that it just feels like it takes way too much time, and it's very flow breaking. Like you were talking about the extra document pickup to be breaking to the gameplay flow. The weapon modding upgrade process is way worse.
Well, I don't mind that as much, just because like I was checking them when I got to a new save point, for example, and like I didn't feel like that really broke the flow as much as just like if I just stumble into a like side room and just like now I gotta spend a minute reading something.
Well, one of the problems I had with it is like once you get to the late game, your inventory is full.
Yeah, that sucks.
and enemies are always dropping them. And so when your inventory's full, it could be like, okay, I just finished a fight. Now I have to pick through these. Now I have to pick through all these upgrades, figure out which ones I want to get rid of, and then pick up new ones, which may or may not be any better. And then also,
I just sorted by rarity, got rid of all the low rarity ones, and didn't care all that much about it.
Yeah, but
like it's a weird system to have in this game.
I think it's a pointless system to have in the game. Like, I think it would have been better if they just didn't have that system and just made, or if they just really vastly simplified it. I think there's too many upgrades, and it doesn't make sense to have so many, personally.
Well, I'm mostly fine with it. I think that like every game nowadays has to have some sort of system that allows you to personalize your play, which I'm all for, honestly. So like, I bet you when I'm done playing the game, I will have used like different weapons most of the time than you have.
I'm sure you'll have used different weapons, but I feel like if you're using a specific weapon, that like there's kind of a small set of upgrades that are actually worth using, and a lot of the rest are trash. Like the damage upgrade, obvious pick for pretty much any weapon. Fire rate upgrade, a lot of the weapons, that's a good one, but like there's a couple where it's the obvious one, like there's like a machine gun-ish one. Obviously, you want like fire rate on that. It's very helpful.
I've been using the extra headshot damage on my pistol. That's been sick.
That's easy. Yeah, simple. Like the pistol in this game is a headshot weapon. I think that's why
it's very good.
Like medium range headshots, that's where the pistol really shines. But yeah. Also, in addition, on top of all that, part of the weapon mod system, you can also craft weapon mods. I didn't even bother with this because I recognized that it was a pointless time sink.
Yeah, and that's annoying because like that crafting weapon mod uses materials. I'm just like, I'd rather just save my materials just in case I don't have enough for whatever new weapon I can get at arbitrary points of the story.
Yeah.
So there's no point.
And also, you get enough weapon mods that you get so many weapon mods. There's no point in crafting other ones, and you, as far as I could tell, you don't craft weapon mods that are different or better, so why would you craft them at all?
Yeah.
And it seemed like the crafting system essentially just recycled mods into, like, it just recycles them. It doesn't really, like, it's not interesting. That's, like, it didn't add anything. And it just felt like someone was like, we're making a game in current year. It needs a crafting system.
Oh. Current year minus 4.
Minus 4.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan.
It's not the best system, but I don't think it detracts enough from the game to be like a massive negative or anything like that.
No.
Sounds to me it might have just been like something they stapled on at the end as a way to use up any extra materials you might have.
Well, but why have, like, that's the thing. Why have all these different materials in the first place? Like, I think the whole thing could have been simplified or even gotten rid of altogether to support a focus on kind of what the game's real strengths are.
Yeah. Like, maybe they did that as incentive to actually, like, because as you're moving around the game, as you're moving around the world, there are, like, enemies will show up. Like, there's quote unquote random encounters in this game. So like maybe like the fact that there's materials and weapon mods and stuff are there to make that more enticing for the player than to just try and like skip that or something.
Well, and there's also,
I felt like the combat was good enough that I'm doing those anyways, like because the combat's fun. So if I get into a round I'm like, oh sweet, I can like headshot with people and it's fun.
Yeah, but I think also, there's a lot
that could be a motivation.
There's a lot of nooks and crannies with hidden stuff, but a lot of the hidden stuff is just materials and weapon mods and stuff like that, which like I felt like I didn't really need it. I kind of just did a lot of the exploration of these hidden areas anyway because it was I also just thought that the environments are really nice. There's random kind of enemy encounters, like it's fun to explore the world. So yeah, they were probably trying to like create an incentive to do this exploration and extra combat and side quests, side missions and whatnot. I just felt like, I don't know, it was an incentive. It's an incentive based on a system that I don't actually really think is even that good, is basically the problem.
Okay.
And like, yeah, I don't want to mean that it's not like it's terrible. I just think that it's the weaker aspect of the game because I think the story and the gunplay and the powers and all this stuff, I think a lot of the game's like really really good. But
yeah. All right. Anything else you want to bring up about Control?
Oh yeah, I was just talking about the gunplay and the gun and abilities and whatnot. With the like ability upgrades, one thing I did notice is that, and this might be just my playstyle, there were a couple psychic abilities I basically didn't use at all.
Yeah, but again, that's personalizing your play,
which is fine. I think that's not really a problem. Just kind of interesting, and yeah, I suspect that you could probably replay the game and like try to focus on different abilities, and the combat could be very different. If you're using different guns and different psychic abilities, kind of running through the trees in a bit of a different way might be fun, though I haven't done it.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm generally trying to keep my distance from enemies, but there are play styles and weapons that enforce more close up play style, so maybe you could do that. I don't know.
Well, there's a couple psychic abilities that kind of work well with kind of close combat as well, I think. So, but yeah, I had a great time with Control. It's a very fun game. I haven't played the DLC yet, but I've got it.
You've acquired it.
I've acquired it. I need to transfer my save data from Epic to Steam. So that's a whole thing, but should be possible.
Yeah, so.
But yeah, highly recommended. Probably one of the best single-player shooters how many single-player shooters? Actually, that's not true. Single-player shooter I played recently-ish, Halo Infinite, which was mid.
Halo Midfinite.
Oh, God. Midfinite!
All right.
Although Halo had a grappling hook, this game doesn't have a grappling hook, although there are other fun traversal options.
All right, so let's move on from Control. Matt, have you been playing anything?
Well, last time I talked about Tears of the Kingdom, which I hesitate to say I finished.
Oh man, I gotta say I've been really enjoying just watching the contraptions that people come up with, like on online. Like, I don't think I've seen a game with so much crazy stuff happening.
You give people a tool like that, their creativity is going to come out.
Yeah,
like it depends on if you consider Gary's Mod a game or not. It's the only other one that can even come close.
Honestly,
I don't
think I actually do.
I need to see where Gary's Mod shows up by default in Steam. If it shows up under game or tools and software.
I'm sure it shows up under games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hit the credits in Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay.
I beat the main quest, but I'm only about... I'm not going for 100%. But according to the map, I've got like 60% completion. But like a lot of what I have left that I want to do is side quests. But I've kind of just decided I'm going to put it down for now until there's inevitably DLC. And then I'll come back to it for the DLC and some more of those side quests that I haven't done. I've got to say... the finale in this game is a lot better than Breath of the Wilds. I enjoyed the finale a lot more.
I still haven't played Breath of the Wild. Should I play Breath of the Wild, or should I go straight to Tears of the Kingdom?
That's a tough one. Yeah, that's a tough one.
I mean, given the amount of time that you have, probably just go straight to Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to play both of them. Probably.
Yeah, I'm probably not.
And
I might not play either of them.
it's not like Breath of the Wild doesn't really have too much story or anything. I mean, it's there, but for how much time you could put into Breath of the Wild compared to Tears of the Kingdom, just with how much more there is in that game, Because I replayed it shortly before Tears of the Kingdom came out, and I still put like 80 hours into that replay.
Jesus.
Man.
But yeah, so for Tears of the Kingdom, like, I completed the main quest, I uncovered the entire map, I completed all the shrines, which puts me at the maximum of 3 stamina wheels and 38 hearts.
So many hearts.
38 hearts.
I don't get it. They make you choose between maxing out your stamina or maxing out your health. So I could have 40 hearts, but then I'd take a hit to 2 upgrades to my stamina wheel. And stamina is infinitely more useful, especially when you have cooking recipes you can do that will give you temporary hearts to bring you up to the maximum of 40. Yeah, no, I put a lot of time into it. I didn't build as many crazy contraptions as I was hoping. I did copy one I saw, which was basically the Tumblr Batmobile. But so speaking of Breath of the Wild, something else I played was something that came out while I was doing my replay of Breath of the Wild that I played for about an hour and a half, which you actually watched me play a little bit of it over Discord, Alex.
Oh.
And then I just didn't touch it for months, and then I finally went back to Metroid Prime Remastered.
Oh, yeah.
Which was great. It's the second... No, it's the third Metroid Prime game I've completed. 3... I always forget about Hunters.
Oh, yeah.
I always forget about Hunters on the DS.
I mean, I think that for its time and console, Hunters was good.
Yes.
But I wouldn't recommend playing it.
Oh my god, I only played it a little bit using the greatest feature ever, DS download play. No, that game does not control.
It's awkward, but
it's a first-person shooter on a game with 0 analog sticks.
Yeah. You just gotta learn to use the touchscreen as a shooter control.
Yeah. Or you can use the ABXY as your second directional pad.
I forgot about that.
No, I use the screen.
Yeah, I use the screen. That is way better.
Yeah, but it's awkward.
Yeah,
it's awkward to use.
But yeah, so Metroid Prime Remastered. I'd only played about an hour and a half of it before I decided to go back, and I just started fresh. And when you were watching me play, you saw me meticulously scanning everything in that first area so as to not miss, because there's one missable log in there.
Yeah.
Guess what? On replay, I missed it. Starting over, I missed it. But I never played the original, and I never finished Metroid Prime and the trilogy version on the Wii. So I don't know if New Game Plus is a new feature to Remastered or not, because all my log data carried over. So I just started a new game, scanned that last log, and then I had 100% completion because I scanned everything else that I needed to in the game.
That's funny.
But yeah, Remastered, it's plain and simple, it's just a visual overhaul in every way that just makes the game look significantly better without sacrificing its original identity. Looking at you, once again, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary.
Yeah.
And yeah, having this being the first Metroid Prime game I've played after having gone through all of the 2D Metroids, it's very much a great transition of a series going from 2D to 3D.
It's one of the best in my opinion.
Yeah, Metroid Prime was...
I don't even like Metroid or Metroid Prime all that much, but in terms of the transition from 2D to 3D, I think it is one of the best transitions.
Yeah, I am still kind of shocked at how they absolutely nailed that transition. I feel like they nailed it so well that I actually think that Metroid Prime is the strongest entry in the Prime trilogy. They knocked it out of the park so hard that they couldn't do it again. But yeah, it's good to hear. Yeah, from what I saw, it really felt like the same game, but just with the graphics updated. Which is good, because I think that game aged incredibly well.
Yeah, and additional control style support, because so I can't speak for the GameCube version, but one of the things they were advertising for this was now with dual analog support. So how did the GameCube version control?
I think that I thought you used the C stick to look around. The thing about it though is that I think that the big thing to remember is that the lock-on is such a big deal in the game that you kind of don't use the C-stick that much.
Yeah, and it's the lock-on's huge, especially when it's a game where it's not something you have to be worrying about headshots to do more damage. You can kind of just... There's very few enemies where you've got to be... Like, I'm thinking the final enemy, there's like one particular spot, like the final boss, there's one particular spot where you want to be hitting them in their earlier phase.
Yeah, Metroid Prime is like not really a shooter.
No.
Like it's a first person game where you shoot enemies, but it's not really a shooter, which is fine. It's a 3D Metroidvania.
Oh, god damn it.
Like Control. No, that one's actually a shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, remastered. Great. I'd like to see 2 and 3 get the same treatment on the Switch, but I feel like if anything, they might just get ports. Just up-resed ports.
Yeah, I don't know. One thing actually I would just say, was the music the same, or did they remaster the music a little bit?
I'm not actually sure.
It was hard for me to tell, because I mean the music was obviously already incredible in Metroid Prime.
Well, just the term remaster is so funny with what it means for games and what it means for music. It's just like, oh, did they remaster the music? Well, like, that just means they made it louder, really, for most music. when you see like the remastered version on like Spotify or whatever, it's just like, oh, they just made it louder because modern music is really loud.
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if they had the original higher quality music files and just put those instead, because remember, the GameCube had the mini disc.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So they might have compressed the music a lot more back then.
Which, that actually brings me to like a little side topic. Something a thought that came to me not too long ago. The GameCube was the last modern console Nintendo released. Oof. When you think about it performance-wise alongside the other consoles in the market at that time.
Yeah, the GameCube, I think the GameCube actually had really great processing and graphics hardware.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
it was all held back by the proprietary disc.
Yeah, it was held back by the stupid little mini disc that couldn't actually store as much data, which I don't know why they did that.
Piracy.
They need to
They
make
were trying to fight piracy.
They need to make
was that really the reason? Oh, that's a dumb
They needed to
reason.
make the console small enough to put a handle on it. Okay.
I did like the handle.
That's stupid handle.
you jump up to the next generation with the Wii. The Wii was the only non-HD console that generation, and it was basically just a slightly more powerful GameCube.
Yeah, I think it actually had the same architecture. Yeah, literally just bumped up the clock speeds and like some of the RAM.
And then the Wii U was a 360 PS3 era console alongside the
came out like a year or
like
before.
right at the end, and then the competitors, of course, just dropped the PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, the Wii. I mean, the Wii U was. I liked it. I especially thought there was some cool stuff they could do with the asymmetric gameplay. Although I feel like the only game that capitalized on that was Nintendo Land.
Yep.
And Mario Party 10 with the Bowser versus the other 4 mode. That's like the only thing I can think.
Good Pictionary. Game & Wario.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they never should have named it the Wii U. That was a monumental branding mistake. And then Microsoft decided to make the same branding mistake.
Xbone. And PlayStation is like, it's the 4th one. Now it's the 5th one.
Yeah, like, honestly, that's good. Like, it's simple. People understand it.
Yeah.
No one.
Final Fantasy 16. Just keep on going.
Just keep on going. Just keep
forget all the side stuff. Just look at the mainline numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just give it a different name. Like, what's so hard about that? What's so hard about, like, giving each console a different name?
Oh, the Wii was so bloody successful that it felt like that's why they did that.
Yeah, but
they need to hit the retirement home
and
market.
It still worked with
they
all
did
the
with
peripherals.
The Wii. Yeah, the same. Well, yeah,
people
like
got
Wii
confused
still
because they'd be like buying Wii U games, and they're like, it doesn't work on my Wii.
Yeah, I think there was also a little bit extra confusion because I think towards the end of the Wii's life cycle there, I forget what company released it, but they released a product called the Wii U Draw tablet.
Oh god, that's the thing that killed THQ.
THQ, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, they lost so much money on their U Draw tablet stuff that they went bankrupt, and only now has like in the last few years has people been like buying up their IP and shit and trying to revive it. But yeah, people just thought like the Wii U it's just a new controller for the Wii.
Yeah, because you had the Wii U, you had the Wii U Draw tablet, and then you get the Wii U that has a tablet. There were probably some confused parents there at Christmas time.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, that out of the way. I also played another Metroidvania actually, Ender Lilies.
What the hell is that?
It is. I mean, it's like it's a 2D Metroidvania.
I've never actually heard of it. So
it was actually in that Metroidvania bundle that you linked,
the
Alex,
one that I bought a
couple weeks ago or so.
I played a little bit of Rain World. It doesn't seem like a Metroidvania game at all. It's interesting, but also I have no idea what's going on in that game.
Now I had this game all right. This is actually one that another game I played an hour and a half of, put down, and then didn't pick back up. So I had actually played a bit of this like last year at some point, but I went back to it, and it's a very beautiful art style Metroidvania. You play as a little girl. She's a priestess, and you actually fight by beating enemies. In each boss you beat gives you a spirit, and those spirits you equip as your attacks.
Right.
So they'll come out and they'll do the attack for you. You as the character, you aren't actually attacking anything.
So when they decided to make a Metroidvania, they were like, okay, Castlevania Order of Ecclesia, we're doing that. See, I believe you didn't have a basic attack in that game either. You were like a caster, Belmont.
Yeah, but like every enemy type you pretty much run into in this game, there's a mini boss version of that you can beat and gain them as another spirit. Because you have your primary ones, which are the boss ones, but then you can also equip two like lesser ones, and you have two setups that you can actually swap between on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's actually got some kind of Souls-like mechanics. In that, because like in other Metroidvanias, if you go far enough away from a room, the enemies will all respawn when you come back.
Yeah.
In this, it's all based on like when you take a rest, the enemies will respawn. Yeah, no, it's just it's pretty. It can be challenging at times. Some of the bosses are pretty tough, but it's got a very nice soundtrack, which is actually. The soundtrack is actually done by a Japanese group I'm actually familiar with. The soundtrack's done by a group called Mili, M-I-L-I.
Mm-hmm.
I actually listen to a lot of their music, so that's part of what drew me towards playing this game, and soundtracks.
Okay, I forgot to mention this. Another reason you have to...
Don't. All we'll say is that there's a piece of music in Control that you find in this one room. Maybe there's more of it. I don't know. But it was just like, why is this here? For me, at least. And let's say it's music you might be familiar with.
Okay.
There's at least 3. 2 of them are hidden. One's late game.
Okay.
So actually going back to Control,
you gotta play Control.
That's actually part of why I didn't end up playing any, because I'm fresh off of 2 Metroidvanias.
It's not really a Metroidvania.
Yeah, but
it's a shooter.
like that was one of the few things I'd read about it that like kind of in terms of like level layout, it's kind of set up like one with the backtracking and stuff. But that's part of why I didn't end up actually playing any before this.
It's nowhere near as much backtracking as
Yeah.
Metroid Prime.
There's fast travel. It's not that much.
There's fast travel. Yeah.
Actually, going back, speaking of backtracking in Metroid Prime, I managed to... I 100%ed the collectibles. I only ended up using a guide for 6 missile upgrades. I did a once-over of the entire game trying to look for everything on my own without anything to help. I came up 6 missiles short. I wasn't about to do that again.
Yeah.
And potentially again. Yeah, Ender Lilies, beautiful game. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Now on to the last thing I've kind of been playing, or rather I'd wish I could be playing more of right now. But I'm immediately going to go on a bit of a tangent here and say, fuck my internet service provider.
Yeah, I think everyone can feel that.
I have had intermittent internet for 3 to 4 weeks now.
Oh no.
Yeah, like as somebody who had similar bullshit for like 2 years because of some just little thing that Telus never fixed, I feel your pain. Yeah. I remember trying to play like Team Fortress 2 and EVE Online when my internet would randomly cut out every 15 minutes. It's not a good time.
Yeah.
I booked a technician. They came by last Thursday just to say, it's a problem in the area, we're working on it. And apparently they'd been working on it for a couple weeks prior. Because even before then, like, wasn't much, had the occasional cutout here and there. Nothing too bad, nothing I couldn't deal with. But now, like, the last couple days, maybe every 20 minutes.
Jesus.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
So I am just going to blatantly say, fuck Eastlink.
Yeah.
I am burning any potential bridge of a sponsorship.
Oh,
here.
yes,
Yeah,
Eastlink.
yeah.
Fuck Eastlink.
Why would a monopoly ever care about sponsorship, though?
I'm not even with them by choice.
They're a monopoly.
Our previous service provider was bought out by them. And ever since that buyout, quality of service just downhill.
Yeah. Yeah, but... yeah, I remember one time I had issues with Telus and intermittent service like for probably a year, and they kept coming and being like, "Oh, it looks fine to us. There's nothing wrong." And then eventually, I guess we like got lucky because we got someone who went and checked like one of the lines, and then he's like he physically went like up a pole and like looked at shit.
Yeah.
And that guy was like, "Oh yeah, the line's corroded." And then they had to restring the entire street.
Wow.
But yeah, it took many visits for someone to apparently actually look at the physical condition of the cabling.
Listen, maybe everybody else you got was just afraid of heights, okay? They didn't want to go up that
They
pole.
were lazy.
Yeah.
Everyone else was lazy. Didn't want to do their job.
The problem that I had with Telus ended up being a problem with like, it wasn't with the lines. It wasn't with anything to do with our house. The problem was at the like box that was like a street away, like the big box.
Yeah.
So it's just like, wow.
Yeah. If we're gonna continue shit talking, Telus. They also renewed a contract without asking us.
Ooh.
That's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. What? Anyway, don't recommend Telus.
But
I don't recommend any of the other providers really either. Like they pretty much any major ISP sucks.
Yeah.
That's just a general rule of thumb.
Yeah.
At least here in Canada, we don't have to deal with Time Warner. I've heard horrible things about Time Warner.
No. Again, any major ISP
Yeah.
is bad.
But back on track, this has been keeping me from being able to play more Fortnite.
Are you playing Fortnite now?
Yes.
Why?
It's surprisingly fun. And it's like the only battle royale I've played that I've actually been enjoying solo.
You're not even allowed to play Apex solo. I would play a lot more. I would have played Apex a lot more if they allowed solo play, but they really want it to be about being a squad. And I'm just like, well, I don't want to do that unless I'm playing with people I know, because I suck.
Well, also, that can be just like, trying to matchmake into a squad-based game. A lot of the time, it just doesn't work very well.
Yeah, and for something like a battle royale game where it like the matches last a really long time, like the stakes are high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like I don't want to be like the third wheel on anybody else's team, and I don't want to get matched up with people who are just like, playing it like they're playing solo, where they just go whatever the hell they want without consulting.
Yeah, but then you're just gonna get wrecked.
It can get really awkward.
You're gonna get wrecked because now it's like 3-on-1.
Yeah.
Every time you encounter another squad that's actually a squad.
Yeah, but okay, so you're playing the John Cena simulator.
He was recently in the shop again.
God damn it.
But yeah, one of the big caveats for me actually jumping onto Fortnite was, and now they added this a while back, was the addition of the no build mode.
Yeah, the building always just seems such a thing that made me not want to play Fortnite.
Yeah, I haven't tried playing it with no build because I don't know if that existed when I tried Fortnite, but I honestly I did not like it at all.
Yeah, no, like I never even tried it when there was building in it, but just the footage I would see with someone taking like a single shot at someone, and then next thing you know, like 2 seconds flat, they've made a multiple story high structure to get high ground and cover. And that just completely turned me off of it. Well,
it's silly because it's not a shooter anymore. It's like who can click. It's like who can click the fastest just to like put walls up.
Yep.
I didn't like it.
But without building, it's surprisingly fun. I've been enjoying it quite a bit, and I wish I could actually play more, but Eastlink. And yeah, I've actually been consistently placing pretty high and even getting solo wins. One thing like I feel over Apex is it's not like you'll definitely run into them, but it's not nearly as packed full of tryhards.
Yeah,
because it's packed full of kids.
Listen, all right, playing Pokemon Unite was really fun because you're just stomping kids all the time.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's really easy to meme on Fortnite when you've got a game where Goku can hit the gritty, but
oh, God damn it.
But without building, it's surprisingly fun.
Okay, like my problem with Fortnite is not that it has a bunch of characters and licensed stuff in it. Like
I have some amount of issue with that.
Okay, I mean, I will say it's extremely funny. Like when you're seeing the screenshots and it's like five completely different art styles. It'll be like 4 characters. I guess you make squads of 4 or something.
Yeah.
But there's like 4 characters in 4 completely different art styles, none of which match the environment you're in.
Exactly. That's
very
the problem I found with it. But
very amusing. But like, yeah, I mean, I can see the appeal. It's like Spider-Man is in Fortnite. That actually sounds... I haven't played it. I have no idea how it controls. But in principle, if I liked the build mode, which I don't, but if I did, people make these like stupid tall structures, and then you could just like swing off them and just like literally run into somebody and like just melee them to death out of nowhere because you're Spider-Man. That sounds hilarious. I don't know, it doesn't sound like it's necessarily good for a balanced game, but it sounds hilarious.
What, does Spider-Man have Spider-Man abilities?
I think so. Doesn't he?
No, they
was that a mod?
When they do like a crossover, usually for a limited time, they have some kind of a crossover thing in game. So when Spider-Man came in, they actually had like a swinging ability that like anyone could do if they picked up the item to do it.
Okay. Yeah. Because I definitely saw videos of people playing where they were just like totally dunking on people by like swinging around and dropping on people as Spider-Man and just killing them.
Like when they had the Attack on Titan crossover, you could get the 3D maneuver gear and you could actually zip around with it.
Yeah. Like I don't like that sounds like a mess, but it does sound like fun in a certain kind of way. So,
and actually, those things do stick around in the game in the custom modes that people can create. So they don't leave they leave the main battle royale, but they stay in the game as a creative tool that people can use for creating other modes.
That's cool. Kind of like Forge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another nice thing about the game is, actually, I don't know where. I just booted up the game, and I had 2,000 of the currency. I had 2,000 V-Bucks. I have no idea where it came from or why I had it.
They gave it to you so that you will start buying cosmetics, and then you'll run out of fake money.
Yeah,
so you need
and
to
then
buy
you'll have
more
like
fake money.
then you'll have like 150 left, which you can't buy anything. So you got to buy more if you want to get that thing.
So I've spent 950 of it to get the season pass, which, if you complete it, you actually get more currency back than what it costs to buy the season pass.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a nice touch, and you also don't have to unlock. Like, there's certain things in the season pass that are locked out based on your overall season level, but you don't have to unlock everything in the season pass. You can kind of pick and choose. So the big one at the top tier this season is actually Optimus Prime. So I'd like to be able to work more towards that, but internet. But I might actually drop some money when Piccolo drops back into the rotation in the shop.
Big Green.
I gotta get Big Green.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that's pretty much been it for me. I guess I'm gonna play Control next, maybe.
Please, it's very good. Yeah. There's a couple other games I've been playing. So I finished up with Marvel's Midnight Suns.
Oh yeah.
So last time I said like, oh, I've been playing for like a really long time. I'm only on Act 2. Act 2 and 3, I'm pretty sure I spent less time on than the entirety of Act 1. Because like I was just doing a lot more of like the general missions, and there's also the whole like exploring the little like hub area. I did a lot of that like as early as I could, which was in Act 1. So the back half of the game went a lot the back 2/3 of the game went a lot faster. And yeah, I really enjoyed my time with it. And I will say the final battle was kind of interesting, kind of not. It like only sort of worked. Like it's a multi-stage battle. The first part you don't actually have access to your like main character anymore, and also like your 4 best like highest level characters you don't have access to either. So you just get handed like 3 random characters, and then you can like swap them out as they get damaged as you're like trying to win that part of the fight. And the next part of the fight is a 4-stage fight with your main character and one of your like highest level allies to just like beat like some super powered enemies. And once you beat them, your ally gets switched out for another one of your allies, which I could see that being a huge pain in the ass for some people depending on which characters they had of high levels, because there was one stage of that fight that was really difficult for me just because of the ally that I had at the time.
Yeah.
So it was just like, okay, it's kind of interesting how like, you know, you do get to use more than just like a squad of 3 that you've been using the entire time. You get to use a lot more of your characters. But the fact that you kind of get locked into that was a bit awkward. Also, the story completely falls apart at the end, and there's a really stupid twist that sucks really badly. And then ends on a post-credits sequel hook.
Oh.
Which the sequel hook sounds really, really cool. But then again, they did the same thing with XCOM 2, and I'm still waiting for the XCOM Terrors of the Deep game. Right? So
very, very Marvel to leave a stinger after the credits.
Exactly. Hey, the character that shows up is a character I'm just like, yeah, that's a good character to be a villain in the next one. So I played 2 other games.
God, I hope I hope that doesn't start a trend of just like games putting fucking post-credit scenes in.
Oh, it's already started.
Yeah, like I said, XCOM 2 did that, and I don't remember if XCOM 1 did that as well.
Insomniac Spider-Man had both the mid and post-credit scenes.
Oh my god. I still need to play that.
They're very good. I'm really looking forward to 2, but I don't have the PS5 to play it. Just gotta wait for the PC port.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm just like, well, Final Fantasy 16 is out. I could be playing it right now and seeing those grape textures, but it requires a PS5, and I don't want to spend that much money on a PS5.
Yeah.
When it's literally the only game I would play on it.
Well, that's the thing. Everything's going to come to PC eventually, and then...
I have a good PC, so...
And, you know, the thing, like, I was going through I was just doing some cleanup lately, and going through, like, some old consoles and old games and stuff like that, and I'm like, man, this is just so much stuff. Like, if you want to play an old game, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to drag out this old-ass console, and then hook it up, and then play it, like, you're not going to do that. But if it's on a PC...
Yes, I am.
Okay, maybe you can. But, like, it's just nice to have everything in one spot.
Yeah, well, I mean, sure, that works for PC for most games after a certain point in time, but there's some old games that the compatibility is completely fucked and are really difficult to play on modern PCs.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a Virtual Boy emulator for VR.
I'm talking about native PC games. Like, I was watching a thing about Lego Island and how somebody's starting to like decompile it to like get a look at why this game is so weirdly programmed. And as part of that video, they showed that there was a section in the leaked Windows XP source code where there was a specific section of the code that was just like Lego Island fix.
Yeah.
Or it's just like, okay, they put something specific into Windows XP so that Lego Island would keep working on Windows XP, which is like hilarious to me.
Also, it's kind of funny because it also speaks to like I feel like it speaks to a different mindset too of
backwards compatibility.
Of backwards compatibility. Yeah. Like Microsoft used to be really committed to backwards compatibility, and they've really kind of fallen off that.
Yep.
Lately.
But now at least they've said that everything that's a Microsoft exclusive is day one PC as well.
Yeah.
And that's nice at least.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they gotta keep up those antitrust appearances to buy Activision. Or what are they buying? Activision?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Activision Blizzard.
Speaking of Activision Blizzard, so I played a little bit of Diablo 4 last night.
Oh God.
Something else I've been tempted to check out, but it's always online, so internet.
Yeah. So you know those like old like educational videos you might see in school about like peer pressure and stuff like that? I must have been sick on that day because Norris was like, hey, play with Diablo 4 with me. I'm like, okay. So I started playing. This is the first time actually that I've taken advantage of the you can play the game before it's done fully downloading feature, because just like, all right, let's impulse play this thing. I'm just like, okay, how big is it? It's like, oh, that's 80 something gigabytes.
You can cut that in half.
Yes, with the content. HD content pack.
Yeah, because half of that is for 4K textures.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, okay, well, so played a couple hours of that, and I can confirm it's Diablo. Doesn't feel much different than Diablo, except not having as many classes as Diablo 2.
I've been plugging away a little bit of Diablo 1.
Yeah, that game only had 3 classes. But yeah,
4 with the Hellfire expansion.
Just reminds me that like Diablo is one of the most influential games on all time, probably for the worse. At this point, honestly, with like just the introduction of loot and what that's done to games over time, over the last 10 years specifically, how everything has fucking loot now. Yeah, it's.
I mean, I don't blame Diablo for that.
I blame Diablo for that.
First of all, I think that would have happened anyway because pen and paper RPGs had loot. and Diablo basically cribbed pretty strongly from what pen and paper RPGs were doing. Someone else would have done it.
I mean, yeah, Borderlands eventually said, like, hey, you can do this in not, ARPG games. You can do this in a shooter. And then that blew everything wide open.
Yeah.
For loot and everything.
Wow, yeah. See, yeah, Borderlands. I liked Borderlands. It was
fun with other people to make
with other people.
The boring environment better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have much to say about Diablo 4 other than just Diablo. So
yeah,
I'm almost more tempted to just pick up Diablo 2 Remastered than 4.
I mean, I've heard bad things about 4 so far, mostly just in the fact that it's very, very aggressively monetized. Apparently, I don't know.
Well, there's a season pass, and apparently, like, every season to get the season pass content, you have to play a new character. Which people have argued that's kind of how these games are supposed to be anyways. Like, people replay these games a lot. Like, they start from the beginning, new class, and just, like, get a bunch of loot and go through the content again. Because, like, if you get to new season content when you already have a fully bricked up character, then, like, what even is that? Like, that locks the season content between stuff that you would have to play, like, only at the end, or they'd have to implement some kind of dynamic leveling system for that, and that never works well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
I don't really care all that much.
The only other thing I want to say about Diablo is it's got a weirdly large advertising campaign.
Well, it's a Blizzard game.
Okay,
So,
I
yeah.
don't ever remember seeing... I never saw bus ads for StarCraft 2, right? Like, there's ads everywhere for this game. I have never... I don't actually ever remember seeing a video game have such a large physical presence on just physical advertising space. Although there was that really funny meme of a giant billboard in New York when the wildfire smoke was going through. Yeah. And I was like, welcome to hell.
Oh, man.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
That was a highlight. That's the highlight of Diablo 4 for me.
Yeah. I will say, like, okay, one part of where it is aggressively monetized is that it's $90. It's like,
$90?
Yep.
Why?
And for a game, well, because, like, okay, if you watch the opening cutscene to this game, you'll understand why it's $90 because they
got
put
Blizzard cutscenes.
Yeah, it's got Blizzard cutscenes, but then you get into the actual game, and it's just like it's isometric perspective. Like, it doesn't matter how much detail you put on the textures; you're so zoomed out, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, I don't think that you need to put a ton of time and money into the art assets in like an isometric game like that. But maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But it's also an Activision Blizzard game, so why wouldn't it be $90?
I'm almost surprised it's not a free-to-play game.
No, for that,
ask them
that's
how
Diablo
Overwatch is
Immortal. The mobile one.
Oh, right, yeah, the
Y'all don't got phones?
The phone overheater.
Remember when they announced that? Just audible boos from the crowd.
Oh, that was so funny. The new Diablo experience you've been waiting for.
On mobile.
Yeah. I have played another game.
Okay.
One other new game that we haven't talked about since the last time I was on the podcast, and I don't know how many listeners we have. I know some of the listeners we have might know me personally, but anyway, I have a daughter now. That's why I have much less time to play. But it also means that I've entered a new phase of gaming. One-handed games. Holding a baby in one arm, and I've got to play the games with one hand. And so in that vein, I played a bit of this game called Peglin. It's basically Peggle, but a roguelike.
Yep.
It's okay. It's in early access, so I guess maybe I shouldn't be too hard on it, but it feels unfinished.
Oh, really?
It's in early access, so
it is unfinished.
It is unfinished.
As advertised.
As advertised.
The true test of early access is, will it reach that finished state?
Will it reach finished? It has, it's gotten some new characters. When I first started playing it, it had one character. Now I think it has 4. So things are happening. The game's all right, though. I don't know. I feel like something about the core gameplay is a bit off. it's not bad, but like Pegl's better.
Well, I mean, Peggle. I mean, yeah, they use the same like pachinko mechanics basically, but Peggle's a different game. Like you're not just trying to kill a bunch of enemies in Peggle. You're just trying to get a bunch
despite being a roguelike, a lot of them actual like maps, like the actual pegboard layouts are reused and the same. So it's not like it's generating new pegboard layouts.
Okay.
Like it's the same pegboard layouts basically every time you play in different orders, maybe with different enemies, which are mostly just an excuse for hitting lots of pegs in one shot. So essentially, it's like instead of Peggle, where it's just a scoring mechanism, in Peglin, you're sort of on the clock, and that the enemies get closer to you, and you have to kill them before they get close and then do damage to you, which is all right. That's fine. It works. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. Something about the core mechanics just feel like they don't work. It feels like there's one strategy that works well that's massively overpowered, which is anything around bombs. Like upgrading the bombs and getting bomb synergy is so much better than any other upgrades in the game or any other like interesting ball effects, because the balls can do different things. Like there's a magnetic ball and there's bomb balls and there's there's like balls that make crit pegs and refresh pegs. But everything's worse than just like going on bomb maxing runs. Get all the bomb upgrades you can, get all the bomb balls that you can, you'll win every time. And if you don't get those, the game is a lot harder because everything else is way, way worse than that. Mm-hmm. So just like the balance on the upgrades and stuff feels a bit off to me. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, speaking.
It's okay. I don't know. I wouldn't really, as it is now, I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest. Unless you like really love Peggle. And
I was just playing some Peggle last night out of boredom from my internet. And waiting for a video to render.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but like I said, it's an early access. It could get better.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you need some games that you can play one-handed, emulated Phoenix Wright. You can play that entirely with the mouse, because you can play that game entirely with the touchscreen.
That's true.
So,
actually, I mean, I still have my DS. It still works. It's got it on there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a little bit more difficult to hold a DS and the stylus. I'm talking playing it on a PC emulator.
Yeah,
with the mouse.
Just try not to wake the baby with the mandatory having to yell into the mic, objection.
If you wait long enough, it'll do it for you.
Okay.
And technically, you can just blow into the microphone, your PC microphone, depending on the emulator you're using.
Yeah, I mean that's all.
You think that game's using speech recognition to determine if you're actually saying objection or not? No, the DS microphone's a piece of shit.
Yeah. You literally just blow into it for anything.
That's the most I used the DS mic for, was blowing up balloons in Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that's a
throwback. So yeah, I have one more game that I want to talk about a little bit, and it's gotcha time. It's Honkai Star Rail.
Oh my god!
I played like an hour and a half of that.
So Fortnite got Matt, Honkai Star Rail got Santo.
Well, I haven't spent any money on it.
Okay.
And I honestly haven't spent all that much time playing it either. I've kind of enjoyed what I've played, but it's a lot like Control. In the there's like weird objects of power in the plot. Yeah, there's this like weird like random it hasn't figured too much into the plot so far. It's just like a lot of stuff for like side quests and like lore reasons and stuff like that. But also there's so much fucking text in this game. Holy shit. Like a lot of the like just like things in the environment you can like click on like 5 times and the dialogue will get increasingly more manic. Like the writing's good, but there's way too much text in the game.
And that's part of what kind of sold, like just hearing about the writing, that's kind of what sold me on like giving it a shot. But
same here.
I was just seeing all the gacha elements again. Same thing as when I tried Genshin Impact. Just seeing all the gacha elements is just completely what turned me off of it. It's just like, I can't.
Yeah, it's...
I mean, the ads are just the same anime waifu as all the other gacha games.
Yeah. There we go. And some anime husbandos.
Can't forget the husbandos.
Yeah. But, like, it's fine. Like, the reason I decided to try this out instead of, like, Genshin or Honkai Impact 3rd or whatever is because it's, like, a turn-based battle system. But the combat is very rudimentary. Your characters can only either do, like, a basic attack, one skill, or one ultimate when a meter charges up. So there's not... the combat's too simplistic for my taste. And, like, there's not much strategy there at all. It's just like you're, pressing the stuff and then blowing up the enemies and trying to hit weaknesses. It's pretty bare bones. That's one of the reasons why I haven't really gone back to it all that much. But like in terms of just
almost like an even more dumbed down Persona.
Well, like Persona, at least like
it's flashy. Well, I guess they're both very flashy from what.
Oh yeah, like well, say is that like I think like say what you want about anime waifus and stuff. I think the game looks really good. Like the I don't know, you want to call it cell shading or whatever, but the shading on all the characters looks really good. The animations are really fluid. Like this is high fucking budget.
Yeah. MiHoYo's games, they're not cheaply made games. They are high budget games, and they look like it.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing that I'll say like is different than like Persona and stuff like that is like, Persona, at least like your characters have a lot more things that they can do, and you can like switch your main character's persona on the fly to like match your situation. This, like, you have your party of 4 that you make with your gacha characters who you may or may not have certain abilities depending on how hard you gacha. Like you're not going to have every character unless you are a whale. So like right now I'm playing with like I have a character that can put a shield on, which is one of the free-to-play characters that you can get, and like I'm not playing with a healer, for example. Like I have no ability to heal mid-battle. Like there's not items that you can use mid-battle either. All the consumables you use pre-battle, and those affect you in battle and stuff like that. So it's an awkward playing game. It's like the entire structure of it being this turn-based RPG gacha thing I think doesn't work at all. But the game does have a lot of personality to it. Mm-hmm. So like I don't know, it's not something I would recommend, but it's a curiosity, I'll say.
Curiosity.
Yeah, no, like looking at that game, like just looking at the menus and everything, there's a lot of assets from Genshin there, just in terms of like the UI and stuff. But it's like it's basically Genshin, which is fantasy themed, but sci-fi themed, and instead of hack and slash combat, it's just turn based.
Yeah. Well, Honkai Impact was like sci-fi, like space stuff, I think.
Yeah, like I'm a sucker for a mix of like sci-fi and fantasy.
Techno magic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Techno magic. Techno magic.
My favorite Daft Punk song. My least favorite Daft Punk song. I hate Technologic. I really don't like that song. But
somehow more repetitive than Around the World.
It feels like it. I'd rather listen to Around the World.
Around the World has 3 times as many unique lyrics.
No, Technologic has a lot of lyrics. They just are bad.
Oh yeah, I guess it does. I must be thinking. You know what? There's probably a remix that only has the one word.
Maybe. So yeah, that's everything I've been playing.
So I guess is that it?
Yeah, I guess I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I guess there's one last thing I'd like to bring up here at the end though. Cursed Halo is back.
Yes.
Yeah, at the time of recording this, episode 11 is out. 12 is in the pipeline. I'm just unsure of when to schedule it.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yep.
Because we got other videos on the channel too,
Yep.
like our recurring series Mediocre Monthlies, which we're going to record after this, and it's going to be a
It's going to be cancer.
Oh God. Sure, let's go with that as the pun du jour. And we also, are got other stuff. I don't know. So if you want to leave us a comment on this here YouTube channel, we'll address it, and maybe even on the next podcast. And if you want to email us, you can always do so at 3levelsdeep@outlook.com. So I hope you enjoy the summer as it is right now, and I hope that the fan that has been constantly blowing throughout this recording doesn't actually show up on it.
Yep.
All right, so
I mean, it's not our biggest fan.
no, that's you, whoever you are listening to this right now. You're our biggest fan.
Thank you, George from Kentucky.
I thought it was Rodriguez from Mexico.
I felt a sneeze coming, but
Oh, okay.
it just did end up coming.
We're all just waiting.
I was just waiting for it to come. I don't want to sneeze over anyone.
Trying to read the hand gestures. I'm like tapping into my inner Italian.